Hello guys, this is Naruto-kun and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Fell in Love with Only Heir of Uchiha Clan Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. Naruto Uzumaki rushed through the trees, desperately hoping that he got to his friend soon. Sasuke Uchiha, his best friend, crush, rival, and many more things. She was currently on pace to traveling towards Orochimaru, believing that he would help her gain power to kill Itachi. The young teenager was sure that Orochimaru would not truly help her. The Sannin member cared only for himself, so why would he help a young woman like her get strong enough to defeat Itachi when Orochimaru could not? No, the blonde knew that Orochimaru would make her powerful, but not too strong. He would take over her body before she even got close to her brother. Naruto had to stop thinking as he finally reached the Valley of the End. A truly amazing place, especially with the statues giving each other the bird. Naruto quickly sighted his target and let loose a sigh of relief. Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto shouted. He thought it was finally time to make her know. He had found Uzushiogakure and he had found out who were to blame for the Uchiha massacre. It was time she knew the truth. He had no doubt that she would be skeptical, so he would use all the evidence he had. Apparently, his shout had surprised the transformed ninja. She turned around, not having activated the curse mark, much to his relief. How do you know my name? The girl asked, her lips twitching into a small scowl. Naruto put up his hands in a release seal, startling Satsuki, who instantly jumped back. She heard the teen yell aloud, "Kai!" before he blurred somewhere. She tried to frantically look around her but was too late as the young boy slapped a seal on her back before activating it. The older teenager was instantly paralyzed and fell to her knees. Through sheer force of will, she turned her head up and growled at him. "What the fuck did you do to me?" Normally, her brain would instantly supply her that he used a paralyzing seal, but she was too enraged to listen. He scowled at her before telling her to listen to him before saying anything. She stayed quiet, not really caring what he had to say, but she needed to get out of these things and this was the only way. "I want you to come with me, not to Konoha," he quickly stated once she glared at him. "We're going somewhere no one will find us," he said. "I'll release the seals, but I can activate them anytime I want, so don't try to escape. They will turn on if I fall unconscious, so don't even try." He didn't like being so strict on her, but she needed to listen. His perceptive eyes looked into her onyx eyes, instantly realizing that she was trying to develop a plan. The young teen sighed, finally calm and cool. She nodded to his terms and he put his hands in a ram seal before deactivating the paralysis seal. She kicked herself up and scowled at him. "Where are we going?" She started to follow him as he went west. "Uzushiogakure, Uzumaki clan homeland," he informed her. What? Uzumaki clan? She thought to herself. She closed her eyes as she tried to remember anything she could about any Uzumaki-related things. Suddenly, she remembered a book she had read long ago. Well, Itachi read, she listened. The Uzumaki clan were masters of Kenjutsu and Fuinjutsu. They lived in Uzushiogakure, allies of Konoha, destroyed during the Second Great Shinobi World War by she remembered, although she couldn't really recall the names. Their clan symbol was a spiral, usually red. Red hair from pinkish red to crimson blood. Mito Uzumaki married the first Hokage and Kushina Uzumaki was a legend, rumored to be as strong, if not stronger, than the Yondaime. The Ravenette shut her eyes, trying to think of any other information she could think back to, but the voice of Itachi in her head finally got to her and she stopped. While the 13-year-old was thinking of the things her brother had read to her, Naruto found the dock master. He quickly paid what he needed to and they both got on the boat. After a few hours, Naruto and his rival finally got to an area of water where there were whirlpools everywhere, ready to suck them in and crush them like little bugs. How the fuck will we get past those? She asked aloud in amazement. She looked towards the blonde, but he just rolled his eyes at her before going through a few hand seals. Thank you, Mom, he said in his thoughts as he remembered some letters his mother had left behind in case she died from childbirth. Uzu Arts. Whirlpool release. He shouted. The whirlpools that had previously been large and dangerous, shrunk down until calm, crystal blue water was remaining. The two quickly hopped off the boat and started running towards the shore. When they finally stepped onto shore, Naruto looked around before deciding to go into a destroyed building. In there, Naruto sat down on the floor, his friend following his example. Alright, what the hell do you want? Satsuki snarled at the teenager. He scowled at her and told her to listen and not interrupt. I'm your godbrother, by a technicality. Naruto glared as she was about to protest and fell silent under his glare. Your mom and mine knew each other well and Makoto-san decided that my mom would be a good godmother, he finished. Satsuki finally nodded, accepting that at face value. After all, he had no reason to lie to her and she couldn't see any signs of lying on his face or body. Now, I want you to shut up and listen to everything. Don't interrupt, okay? He asked. She nodded in consent. Wonder what he was going to tell her that would be any more shocking or revealing. I was Itachi's student. A sigh was released from Naruto as Satsuki took a sharp breath in and began to glare at him, her beautiful onyx eyes instantly turning red at the mention of her brother. She registered the student part and began to charge at him, only to get paralyzed. Itachi killed your clan for a reason, he stopped as her eyes became even more enraged. What reason could be important enough for her own loving, kind, and caring brother to kill almost everyone in his family, his clan? Almost as though he was reading her mind, he said, war. She forgot her rage a little and looked at him curiously. Why would war happen because of her clan? And how was a small war worth his family? The Fourth Great Shinobi War, he continued. What? She asked in disbelief. What would cause that? She finally felt as though Itachi had a reason. Now that her mind was calmer, she began to quickly connect a few pieces. Itachi killed them to stop a world war, something would cause Konoha to weaken. A civil war. What would cause that? How would my clan cause that? She thought to herself. Naruto, seeing that she wasn't going to say anything, continued. You see, 13 years ago, remember? The Konoha higher-ups began to suspect it was the Uchiha who had attacked using the Kyuubi because of the history when Madara used him to attack the Shadaime Hokage. Also, there were no Uchiha present in the fight nor were any injured, so they were suspected. Naruto took a deep breath and continued. This mistrust and isolation from the rest of the village created feelings of ill will amongst the Uchiha, and ultimately rekindled the hatred harbored towards the Senju-influenced government. As such, the Uchiha, led by Fugaku Uchiha, your father, began planning a coup d'état to overthrow the Konoha leadership. In preparation for the coup, the Uchiha started inserting its member within Konoha's command structure to act as spies. Itachi Uchiha was placed in the Anbu, the direct arm of the Hokage. However, Itachi did not agree with the Uchiha's plans, believing the coup would only escalate into another shinobi world war. As such, he turned double agent, providing Konoha with information on the Uchiha's plan. The third Hokage and his advisors quickly realized that they were all ready to fall in to convince otherwise, but Shisui Uchiha still tried, using the ultimate genjutsu, Koto Amatsukami, a move from his Mangekyo Sharingan, to force the Uchiha elders otherwise. Danzo thought this was a waste as they were still going to kill the Uchiha and took Shisui's right eye for himself before Shisui had a chance to use it. Having failed and fearful that Danzo would take his other eye, too, Shisui entrusted his left eye to Itachi before committing suicide. After finding his body, the Uchiha believed Shisui had, in fact, been murdered by Itachi and the suicide was staged, And, as such, no longer trusted. He still wanted to find a nonviolent solution. Shisui's death convinced Itachi that events could no longer be stopped. Naruto didn't mention that Itachi had given him the eye and no one knew that. Itachi started to dislike the clan and became critical about it. The elders and that bastard Hiruzen, he spat out Hiruzen like it killed him to say the name, surprising the girl as they always showed a good relationship, like a grandfather and grandson. Decided to take advantage of Itachi's feelings and told him to eliminate the Uchiha. Itachi agreed, having been a pacifist and not wanting more bloodshed. They explained the two possible outcomes. The Uchiha could be allowed to carry out their coup, an act that would ultimately lead to the entire clan's extermination, including Itachi and his younger sister, Sasuke Uchiha. Alternatively, Itachi could assassinate the Uchiha before the coup took place, and in exchange would be allowed to spare your life. Itachi opted to save you over the entire clan. He also asked me to help and protect you throughout the time. He had trained me before so that I could protect you. He told me to be the dead last so I could be on the same team as you. No Satsuki, that Itachi chose the village over his entire clan, over his mother who had raised him since he was born, but he placed you leagues above the village itself. If the Uchiha were to do their coup, what would happen? The fight in Konoha would weaken the village since many shinobi, both Uchiha and non-Uchiha would die, weakening the village. When that happened, others would at causing the next great shinobi war. The young teenager took a deep breath before he heard sniffles. He looked forward, only to see Satsuki Uchiha, the cold princess, crying. He couldn't imagine this scene ever happening, but he wasn't going to tease her. After all, he too had cried when all this had been explained to him by Itachi. Naruto didn't want to mention the man who had helped Itachi as he didn't know the full info and he didn't want to be wrong about anything, especially since Itachi told him nothing but that he was an Uchiha. Naruto stepped forward and wrapped his arms around his crush, comforting her with soft reassurances. The Uchiha era stiffened at the contact at first but eventually relaxed in his arms for the next hour. Eventually, she calmed down and her thoughts started racing, her heart desiring revenge, but it was no longer directed towards her precious brother but at the people of Konoha. Those lying, hypocritical, motherfucking bastards. She thought to herself, finally letting herself go. Wait, why does Naruto hate them? She asked this question alone and shivered at his dark gaze. His glares were a little scary, but that darkened stare, filled with hatred that glowed slightly a crimson blood-red color. Well, for a couple reasons. 1. The Sandaime, the hypocritical motherfucker I trusted for some reason, ordered the Konoha shinobi to not help the Uzumaki when Iwa, Kiri, and Kumo attacked them and they obeyed without hesitation, not caring that their sister village was being destroyed. And why? Because we were so fucking good with Fuinjutsu and Kenjutsu. He shouted. 2. The entire village hated me and always treated me like the plague. To them, I was worthless, a demon in human skin. They tried to kill me as much as they could. Beat me when they wanted. Thankfully, Inu, Kakashi, was there to help me out a lot. No one besides your brother and Kakashi as Anbu helped me. I don't care about it now, but it hurt a lot when I was a child before I was trained, especially since I didn't have any friends back then. He paused as he looked at her. We're friends, right? He questioned. It seemed that he was laying his heart to her, showing his vulnerability. Of course. You're my only friend Naruto, except maybe Kakashi. I don't care about the other, they could die for all I care, she reassured him, giving him a happy smirk. 3. Those bastards never even gave a fuck about either of us. No one ever adopted me when I was an orphan and let me die and I know why, but you were never adopted either. I mean they just left a 7-year-old girl alone in a clan ground where her entire clan was killed and they didn't even think about that. Me I can understand, but you should have at least been adopted. Hell, they could have adopted you just because you were an Uchiha so they could have got money but they just left you there. I know you don't need now, but you were just a 7-year-old. Didn't they think about how it would have haunted you to live where your family died? Then they have the nerves to worship the ground you walk on and kiss up to you, damn it. I will only let a few people go if they want to, and that is the Ichirakus. Naruto finished his rant with anger. He had to take a few breaths to calm down. Satsuki had to smile a little. She couldn't help it with all the protectiveness he was showing. It was nice. Well, at least he's intelligent. Does he know about Hinata? Hey, Naruto, do you know about Hinata's crush on you? She asked with a smirk, wanting to destroy the tension. Naruto chuckled as he realized what she was doing. Yeah, I knew, but I don't feel the same way. I don't hate her, but I don't exactly love her. Her personality and mine are just too different. Besides, she admires me, and that was what formed it. Her crush was an optimistic guy who didn't give up after an attempted fail. I am not that guy. I am not the happy, sunny guy she likes. Maybe in another timeline where I was different and there were some changes, maybe I would accept and recuperate them, but not now, he told her. Besides, I like you. Satsuki gave a nod. She didn't really care if he liked the girl or not. His love life was none of her business. They tried to kill me as much as they could. Beat me when they wanted. A sudden jolt hit her as she remembered what he told her earlier. Naruto, why did they hate you so much? There is no reason to hurt a child, especially you. She demanded. Naruto sighed as he got ready to reveal one of his largest secrets, not as large as his heritage or his connection with Itachi, but still very important. He wouldn't lie to her anymore. He refused to do it for something that he shouldn't even care about. The Yondaime sealed the Kyuubi into me, he told her. Satsuki blinked in shock before her rage came running back at her. She yelled in her mind as she instantly knew what the effect would be. They hurt her only and best friend, framed her brother, killed her family, and destroyed her clan. Why? She asked. He looked at her confused, causing her to elaborate. Why you? Why would he seal it into you? She questioned. What were the chances that, out of the hundreds of babies that day, Naruto was chosen for the role? Her best friend, her only friend, being chosen. He had no other choice. Only Uzumaki's and Senju's had enough chakra and the body to hold them back. If it was sealed inside, say Ino, then she would have died after a few years and it would be released again. Since I was the only Uzumaki alive, a lie, he decided to seal it in me, he concluded. Satsuki nodded at him to continue, knowing that there was more. Another reason is that the Yondaime was noble but too trusting. He couldn't seal it into anyone else if he wasn't willing to make the same sacrifice. After all, the Hokage's highest priority is the village, not his family. It's why I hate the position so much, Naruto explained. Satsuki was a bit confused. Sure, he wasn't dumb or anything, but he used to shout that he would become Hokage. Now, she could see that it was a part of a mask that he had put on, but why did he say it so much? To convince them, it was really unnecessary to repeat it so much. Wait, willing to make the same sacrifice. Did that mean Naruto was the son of the Yondaime? Of course, the Yondaime would probably never sacrifice a baby, at least not without very important reasons. If he considered trying to use another, that would be selfish of him as he was trying to save his own child. Since Naruto was the only Uzumaki, he would have to seal the Kyuubi in Naruto. He couldn't do it in another baby, so he had to sacrifice his own, even if he wasn't willing. Her unorganized thoughts caused her to be lost for a while, glaring at the wall in front of her. Naruto asked her a question, but she couldn't hear it, trying to organize through all the information that he had given her. Thankfully for Satsuki, even if she didn't know it, Naruto had taken her earlier words to heart and thought that she wouldn't reject him, even for the Kyuubi. After 20 minutes, Satsuki came back to reality and saw Naruto standing up and looking at the village. She walked towards him and placed a hand on his shoulder, knowing what it felt like to know your entire family was dead. Just like her. He stiffened at the contact, but relaxed a moment later when he realized Satsuki was the only one on the island. So what are you going to do? Take revenge? She asked him. He shook his head. We need to be smart. We need allies like, say, Suna, but first, we need to get stronger. We can't get allies if we are weak, Chunin level ninja. We train for the next 3 years cause Jiraiya told me that's when Akatsuki will start moving. This means Itachi will be coming after me and the other members will go against the other Jinchuriki, he told her. She nodded, opting to ask him about what Akatsuki were later. After 3 years, we can rescue Jinchuriki, making sure Akatsuki can't get them, and gain allies to help us destroy Konoha. Infiltrate it. Get the info we need like shinobi strength, security, and other things. Then, we leave again, getting a few people like Kakashi, Jiraiya, and Tsunade, he continued. Satsuki's eyes twitched. What did she still not know? After that, we can kill the villagers before making our own village. Rebuilding Uzushiogakure and remaking the Uzumaki clan. Naruto finished. Satsuki nodded, not exactly knowing how he would do that when he was the only Uzumaki alive. Besides Tsunade, she realized. After all, the current Hokage was the granddaughter of Mito Uzumaki. She was too old though, she couldn't have children at all, right? No, Satsuki isn't thinking about Naruto and Tsunade being together. Unless there were more Uzumakis left, which there might be, then he would have to do it by himself. The next day, Satsuki asked Naruto what Akatsuki was, what Jinchuriki were, and a lot of other stuff. He calmly answered everything he could, but he couldn't do everything since he himself didn't know who the Jinchuriki were or the members of the Akatsuki besides some people like Deidara, Itachi, and Kisame. The two clan heirs had trained the past 3 years. They learned many ninjutsus from the Uchiha scrolls that Satsuki had brought as well as the ones in the Uzumaki homeland. Along the way, the two had learned and improved their kenjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu, and fuinjutsu. They also focused on chakra control since Naruto needed the control while Satsuki needed the reserves. Year 1. Naruto and Satsuki went about the island and discovered scrolls that contained fuinjutsu as well as water, wind, and lightning jutsus. Satsuki had used her Sharingan to recognize and decode all the seals. She had also used the dujutsu to memorize every kanji as well as how to use symbols to hide the true intentions of the seals. Her progress was amazing, able to get up to level 2 on the Uzumaki scale, which was nearly on par with Jiraiya. Naruto, on the other hand, blazed through the seals and did it as easy as breathing. Able to decode every seal. Satsuki's progress was amazing but Naruto completely surpassed her. He could get up to level 5 out of 20. This level had never been reached by another non-Uzumaki. To be able to create and master the Hiraishin, you had to be level 3.5. Naruto had recreated his father's technique and was also able to figure out a way to improve it a bit. The Hiraishin worked very similarly to the reverse summoning. The kunai or mark had the seal to alert the person to where it was as well as the methods to get there. The kunai itself contained the user's chakra. The seal alerted the user where it was and another part of the seal reverse summoned them to the kunai. What his father hadn't thought of was that he didn't need the kunai or seal to teleport near where he was. If you had spread your chakra throughout, it wouldn't be very far, but if you mixed your killer intent, which had higher range, with a bit of your chakra, you could teleport to where you needed in the range. It also had a beneficial side effect of your opponent's freeze if the ki was high enough. It also used very little chakra since it was already there. I don't know if that is exactly how it works but hey, it is fiction for a reason. When they had gotten good enough in fuinjutsu, they had drawn a resistance seal on themselves using Shadow Clone. Naruto had suggested this when Satsuki asked him to draw one her stomach. He had never been a darker shade of red. Of course, They later improved it so that it slowly increased its level so that it always felt 2x harder to move than it did before. Satsuki so far had gotten to level 12 100ths, while when they had gotten good enough in Fuinjutsu, they had drawn a resistance seal on themselves using Shadow Clone. Naruto had suggested this when Satsuki asked him to draw one her stomach. He had never been a darker shade of red. Of course, they later improved it so that it slowly increased its level so that it always felt 2x harder to move than it did before. Satsuki so far had gotten to level 12 100ths, while Naruto had reached 11 100ths. Next was Kenjutsu. Satsuki had brought her mother's sword, Kurasu, a 44-inch katana made of chakra-conducting metal. The young Uchiha had also brought her mother's scrolls as well. Makoto called her style Reigeki, which used quick jabs, slashes, and cuts while infusing the sword with her lightning affinity. This always literally shocked everyone when it hit. The technique let Makoto channel her lightning affinity chakra, which then went inside a person's body. The previous Uchiha matriarch also let a bit of her regular chakra flow in, then, when it was all over the body, turned it into dangerous electricity which killed the person. Satsuki was able to improve it to let her use fire as well, which her mother didn't have. Now, when the sword hit, it also burned them. She could also focus her fire chakra into the sword, then fire a condensed ball of fire at her opponents. Naruto had also brought his mother's sword, Benaheim. However, he didn't have a style, so he looked around on some of the few buildings he had explored. Flashback. Naruto had just finished looking through the second building and came across the third building. It was a brownstone building with large swirls that were carved in. The building itself was 2 stories tall and very decayed. Most of the stone had fallen apart on the top right and left corners in the front. Damn it, Satsuki already has a style and is ahead of me. I need to find a style so I can train in Kenjutsu. The blonde thought. The shinobi entered the door and looked around. When he looked towards the left, he saw a door with some writing on it. He went to the door and read the script. Hello, my fellow Uzumaki brethren, I am the 23rd clan head of the Uzumaki clan. Inside of this door are 2 scrolls for the Uzumaki Kenjutsu style. There is an offensive and a defensive. Pick whichever you want and study it hard. If you are one of my descendants, you will also be able to find another style next to it. You must drop a bit of your blood into the center, and if you are able to open it, you are free to use the bloody whirlpool dance. Mito Uzumaki. Naruto went inside the door and saw 3 pillars. The first 2 had a scroll on it while the third one was blank except the spiral. The soon-to-be 14-year-old went to the third pillar. He bit his thumb and quickly pressed it at the spiral before the Kyuubi healed it. The spiral slowly opened and a scroll took its place. Naruto grabbed the white scroll and opened it up. At the top was the title, Bloody Whirlpool Dance. Huh, perfect, the blonde ninja smirked. Flashback end. After he had received that scroll, he used 200 shadow clones to memorize all 200 katas and made it muscle memory. He also used his shadow clones in the style as well. Taijutsu was where they had to improve or make their own styles. Satsuki used the interceptor fist. It used the Sharingan to predict the movement of the opponent. Because of this, they could easily hit where the opponent was going to go. There were a few openings in the style, but that was easily covered by the Sharingan. Satsuki herself decided to add her fire affinity to the Uchiha Taijutsu style. Surrounding her limbs with her fire chakra, she used the fire to blast hot white flames at the opponent. Of course, she didn't just shoot fireballs, she used them to cook her opponents. Naruto used Uzumaku Ken, the swirling wind fist, previously known as swirling fist. It was a mixture between a defensive and offensive styles. When you wanted to, you could defend or attack. Naruto, of course, added the element of wind to it. He covered his hands in wind chakra and turned them into wind claws. Using the claws as blades, he could cut the skin of the person. Both used the resistance seal to upgrade their strength and speed. They had to take it of once a week so that their speed didn't blind them. It also helped them speed up their reflexes. By the end of the years both had gotten up to level 33 100ths. Satsuki was a little faster than the blonde. This blonde was a bit stronger than Satsuki. Satsuki had realized that they both needed to increase their senses if they wanted to sense approaching attacks. The black-haired teen had decided to slowly channel chakra into their senses. Every day, they increased the amount until they could hear anything within 200 meters, see 300 meters, and smell anything in a 20-meter radius. To sense someone farther, Naruto always sent a pulse of chakra around them. If anything disturbed the pulse, it would be sensed by Naruto. Of course, he made it so only ninjas could disturb it. The only drawback was that, if there was a sensor in the path, they would sense it and find them too. Naruto had realized that he was pathetic at chakra control. He needed to be able to control his reserves, so he thought of creating new control exercises that combined other ones. He added the leaf spinning exercise to both tree walking and water walking. Both used this technique until they could spin 10 leaves on their fingers while running across, up the water tree. Satsuki already had good control, so she used this to increase her chakra reserves. Of course, it would never reach the amount that Naruto had. Satsuki then combined the tree walking and water walking. It was called waterfall walking. There was no waterfall, so they had to make one. Jiraiya had taught Naruto a few Doden techniques. He used this to raise the ground upwards. They did this at the back of Uchiha where there was a lot of land and water. He had raised up the ground up to 3 stories tall. Then, Naruto used a basic Suiten jutsu, Mizu. It just supplied a bit of water, but with Naruto's chakra reserves, he supercharged it and spit out a huge amount of water. This was too much, so a water-clad Satsuki threatened him to do it slowly with a few clones and less power. Naruto had hastily nodded his head at the threaten and followed it. After that, they both climbed up that waterfall. It took Satsuki 4 days to get it and Naruto 1 week. After that, Naruto had remembered the Gogyu Fuin. It had completely messed up his chakra control. Naruto had relayed this to Satsuki and she had agreed to put one on herself. After putting it on, they had taken 1 month to fully get all the control back. After unsealing the seal, they had found their chakra control had quintupled. Ninjutsu was when Naruto and Satsuki got creative. Both used jutsu they knew and got ideas to make new ones. Satsuki had taken a fireball and uncompressed it. Now it was a huge sea of white flames. She had made derived jutsu from Chidori. Chidori current, sword art, Chidori katana, Chidori senbon, Chidori sharp spear, Kirin, Reikiri. Both her and Naruto had also used the basic jutsus and made them collaborate with other jutsu. One was when Naruto used shadow clones and transformed them into kunai. He then stored them for use. Satsuki had done the same as him but with fewer shadow clones. Since they did nothing but transformation, they lasted for around a week. They also used kawarimi with kunai to catch people off guard. They had perfected most of their jutsu, so it required no hand seals for the low-ranked and a few seals for high-ranked. It also had no side effects like smoke. Naruto combined Bunshin Daibakua with his clone kunai. This made kunai that could explode without a seal, and it was unexpected. He also made variants with Rasengan like Odama Rasengan, Cho Odama Rasengan. After discovering his elemental affinity of wind and water, he had also created 2 variations. One was called Futon, Rasengan. The other was called Suiten, Rasengan Typhoon. He added water on top of the Rasengan and kept adding it. Spiraling, swirling chakra plus endless amount of water equals a big typhoon of water. The 2 teens had also collaborated their own jutsus with each other. Their elements complemented each other. Naruto's wind and Satsuki's fire. The same went for their water and lightning. Kaden, Gukakyu, Suiten, Suigaden, A large bullet of water and a giant ball of white fire were coming at each other. They clashed at the middle, creating a large amount of smoke. Naruto took advantage of the smoke and disappeared. He reappeared behind Satsuki. He tried to punch her, but she leapt forward while turning. She took out her sword and dashed towards Naruto. The blonde shinobi also took out his sword and charged. They both met at the middle. The sound of metal clashing with metal echoed out. Naruto quickly ducked and slashed at her stomach. She jumped back and threw a few kunai. Naruto dodged the kunai right as it sailed past him. Kage Bunshin no Kawarimi, he whispered, creating a smokeless shadow clone and switching with it right before dispelling it without smoke. Satsuki appeared where one of the kunai was and swiped his sword at him. Kenjutsu. Hinotama. A fireball came from the sword and headed straight towards the 16-year-old. He quickly went through a few hand seals and spitted out a compacted ball of water. Again, smoke arose. This time, however, Satsuki charged towards the smaller smoke and covered her hand in lightning. Chirping birds echoed out, but was quickly silenced. Now, it was a compacted blade of lightning. She saw a figure coming at her, a spiraling sphere in his hand. Naruto had heard the chirping of the birds and created a shadow clone. The clone created a Rasengan in its hands and rushed at the smoke. He focused his chakra into his hands and a yellow kunai came out. Uzumaki art. Kongo Fusa. Kunai. He waited until he heard the clash of the compacted Chidori and Rasengan. After hearing it, he shunshined behind her and rested the kunai at her throat. I win Satsuki-chan, he whispered. Satsuki shivered at the breath on her skin. Feeling the kunai, she conceded by nodding. That makes us even. 50-50 with 200 draws. She said. Satsuki, I think we should start on our plan now. It's been 3 years and the Akatsuki will start looking for Jinchuriki any minute now. Naruto said seriously. He had explained to her what was Akatsuki and who he knew was in it. He had figured out all this info from having a clone in the office when they were in Konoha. Let's get Gaara first. He is the only Jinchuriki I know that we can find. Naruto said. Gaara would be the easiest to convince. Naruto wasn't going to recruit every single Jinchuriki, but that didn't mean that they couldn't help him. He knew Iwa wouldn't help. He didn't know where all of them were, so he had to look through the books to see where the Biju were sealed. He knew which country every single Jinchuriki was now. Well then, we should go now, no point in letting Akatsuki get ahead. Satsuki pointed out. He nodded and they both walked towards the shoreline. Since they had much higher reserves, they could run to the other side of the body of water. After running for 30 minutes, they got to the other side of the port. After arriving there, they both headed towards Suna. After running for 3 days, the two finally saw the entrance to the hidden sand village. Going up to the entrance, they saw a bunch of dead shinobi. Searching for a chakra signature, they felt one that was still alive at the back. When they got there, the shinobi was barely alive and his eyes widened upon seeing them. Naruto and Satsuki went up to the man and asked him what happened. The Suna nin told them that 2 people infiltrated. They had taken the cage and headed out. After finding out which way they went, they also headed out. They ran for 40 minutes before being intercepted by a shark sword. In front of them appeared a Akatsuki member. His name was Kisame Hoshigami. He had a distinctive shark-like appearance, complete with blue-gray skin. He has small, round, white eyes, 3 sets of curved facial markings under his eyes, gills on his shoulders, and sharp triangular teeth. He had on the Akatsuki's black cloak with red clouds. He also had on a brown sash that went from his right shoulder to left hip. He had his samahata in his hands. Kisame! Shouted Naruto. The 16-year-old ran at the shark man with a Rasengan in his hand. Sweden. Bakusui Shoha. The Akatsuki member attacked. Naruto saw the water coming at him and jumped up. He put his Rasengan in front of him and started swirling the water like a whirlpool. It sucked in Kisame and he was now at the middle. Naruto increased the rotation of the Rasengan and the water started to form into a hurricane. He threw the now Rasengan, hurricane. At that time, Satsuki put her hands on the hurricane and said, Raiden, Jaibashi. The electric hurricane went straight towards the shark-like man. He jumped to dodge, but his opponents got behind him and drew their swords. The man blocked it with his own Samahata. They engaged in a clash of swords and slashed and shred each other. After a few minutes of clashing blades, they finally separated. Naruto and Satsuki had a few cuts on their clothes and body. Kisame had his cloak cut around with blood flowing out of a few cuts. Naruto sent a small amount of killer intent in the air and mixed it with his chakra. He then disappeared in a crimson flash. He reappeared right above Kisame with a Odama Rasengan. He thrusted the attack right on his opponent's back. The missing nin was sent spiraling forward. Satsuki appeared in front of the legendary swordsman and jabbed her lightning-covered fist through his stomach. Chidori. Kisame started to bleed through the wound. Suddenly, he started to shift until a complete white figure with green hair replaced him. Naruto and Satsuki then ran off in the same direction they were going before. When they got near, like 1 minute away, the entrance, they both sensed a few shinobi going the same way and place they were. They recognized one of the chakra signature as Kakashi's. Satsuki's eyes turned into slits and she jumped to the side to intercept them, but Naruto stopped her. Satsuki, I know you hate them, but it is not the time for this. We need to get to Gaara. We'll destroy them another time. Naruto told her. She nodded, begrudgingly. They kept running forward until they reached a cave that was enclosed by a boulder. There was a seal in the middle of it. Naruto quickly figured out what it was and sent a team of clones to shut down the other seals. Then, they both hanged so they looked different. They both now had red hair. A few moments later, 4 other people appeared next to them. One was Kakashi Hatake, another was Sakura Haruno, then, Hinata Hyuga, and a woman they hadn't met. Who are you? Questioned the copy nin. We are bounty hunter nins, a price has been placed on Deidara the Mad Bomber. We want to get his bounty and this was the last place he was seen. Satsuki explained quickly, hiding her hatred for them. Since Deidara was a missing nin, he had a bounty in Iwa. They might need the money for later times, so it was a good excuse. Kakashi nodded and said, well, that's acceptable, you can battle him and take his bounty, but we need the cage. Looked at the boulder and continued, first, we need to take these seals off. Don't worry, I sent clones to take the others off in the same time. I sent 6 so 2 for each and 1 can dispel when they are ready. Naruto replied. His clones dispelled right then and he quickly tore off the seal along with the other 3. Then the Banshee, Heir, pink-haired nin destroyed the boulder. So Tsunade also taught the girl, Sakura, her strength technique thought Chio, Naruto, and Satsuki at the same time. They all entered the cave to see a lifeless-looking Gaara and 2 other people. One was Deidara. He wore their signature cloak, navy blue pants with matching shinobi sandals, and an Akatsuki ring on his right index finger, which bore the kanji for blue or green, and was teal in color. He also wore black nail polish on his fingers and toes. There was another man next to Deidara. You already know what Sasori looks like. Imagine Leaf and Chio versus Sasori is the same as canon, but with shadow clone Chios and more puppet humans for her. They faced each other and separated the Akatsuki members from each other. Naruto and Satsuki chased after Deidara while leaving the others to beat the other one. Deidara created a clay bird and rode on it into the sky. He sent a bunch of clay and used his explosion Kekai Genkai to make them explode. This was useless on Satsuki, who covered her body in lightning and made them duds. Naruto sent a bit of his ki chakra at him, then Hiraishined behind him. He drilled the other blonde with a Rasengan. He fell to the ground and Satsuki easily shredded him to pieces with her lightning-infused sword. When he was finally shredded, the giant clay bird, along with himself, exploded. Satsuki recorded this with her Sharingan. After their battle, the two best friends went back to the other battle. When they arrived, they saw a red-haired man that was slowly dying. They got close to him and he told them some information. I have a spy within Orochimaru's ranks. He was supposed to meet me at Tenchi Bridge in 10 days. It might help you guys. After getting the information, all the shinobi looked at the dead body of the cage. He was dead and they had no way to revive him. Well, all but Chio, that is. I can revive Gaara, but it will cost me my life force. Chio said. She really wanted to revive Gaara. She was going to die soon and it would be for the better if Gaara didn't die. She needed to pay for the mistakes of the past after all. The Konoha shinobi nodded somberly. They didn't like anyone of their comrades dying. They cared a lot about them. Naruto and Satsuki didn't exactly care. She wasn't someone they knew or cared about. She was a stranger to them after all. Ban Sakura and Hinata took Gaara and all of them started going back to the village. When they arrived near it, they laid Gaara in a grassy field and Chio hovered over him. She went through the hand signs for her revival technique. Kisho Tensai, she shouted. Her hands were covered in chakra and placed it over the previous Jinchuriki chest. The old woman's life force began to fade away while the cages was restored. The redhead's eyes began to slowly open. He looked all around him and then saw all the people in front of him. His eyes widened in surprise and confusion. He was confused on who his fellow redheads were. He hadn't ever met them in his life. He was surprised to see the Konoha shinobi there and Chio dead. Where am I? He asked, his voice mixed with confusion and surprise. Deidara versus Naruto in Satsuki Place. All the pieces of Deidara slowly started to turn into white skin. A distortion appeared and two figures appeared. Well, it appears that Deidara will need to get a new partner. One figure said. It appears so. The other figure said, I will fill that role it seems. Where am I? Gaara asked, his voice mixed with confusion and surprise. Why wouldn't he be? He just had a biju extracted out of him and died. He then saw Chio lying deceased and his eyes widened in realization. Did Chio use her reincarnation jutsu? He asked. He saw them nod and asked himself, why did she revive me? I am not that very important to anyone in the village. He was cut off by a shout of Kage-sama. He looked towards the direction of the voice and widened his eyes upon seeing all the shinobi of Sunagakure. Did they come to see me? He thought. All the ninjas started celebrating upon seeing Gaara, who was still in shock from seeing them. After all the shinobi went to Chio's funeral, the Konoha shinobi left to go back to their village. Naruto and Satsuki asked to meet Gaara in private. He allowed this and made them follow him into the cage tower. After getting to the previous Shukaku Jinchuriki's office, he sat down in his chair and asked them. What did you want to talk to me about? The redhead felt them channel their chakra and got his sand ready. What he saw stunned him. In front of him were Naruto and Sasuke. Naruto wore dark red cargo pants. He had on a dark blue shirt. Sasuke had on a dark black shinobi pants with gray long-sleeved shirt. Naruto's Sasuke. He was interrupted by another poof from Sasuke. In the poof, a feminine Sasuke appeared. Who are you? He asked confused. A woman just appeared in front of him, replacing where Sasuke Uchiha was. My name is Satsuki Uchiha. Sasuke Uchiha was a persona developed because of a genjutsu that protected me from CRA. She stoically explained. Gaara was shocked as hell. Sasuke Uchiha was a female. What the hell? He composed himself, after all he was the cage, and asked, alright, Naruto, Satsuki, what are you two doing here? I heard that you had left to Orochimaru and that you had taken Naruto with you. That's a bullshit story made up by Konoha. They assumed that Satsuki captured me and left. I wanted to leave that village, and since I cared too much about Satsuki, I went to find her then took her with me. Said Naruto in anger. Gaara, don't tell anyone that we aren't at Otogakure. He then requested. The Kazekage nodded to his first and best friend's request. Okay Naruto, but only because you are my best friend. Now tell me where you two were if not at Orochimaru's village. He asked curiously. Where were they during the 3 years? Why does palpably dislike Konoha? These questions were rushing through his head. We were training at my clan's homeland, Uzushiogakure. Naruto responded to the question. Gaara was shocked. His village had attacked the village and had obliterated it with Kumo and Kiri. Another reason he was shocked at this was because his best friend was an actual Uzumaki. The Godime Kazekage nodded his head, gesticulating them to continue. I want to destroy Konoha for a couple of reasons. One is that they stabbed Uzu in the back and let the other nations invade the Uzumakis. 2. They treated me like trash and would never help me no matter what. They always beat me and tried to assassinate me. 3. Is for just who they are. I want to show the world what they truly are. They portray themselves as the kindest village, but look at what happened to me, how they treated me. How they treated Satsuki-chan. They said that they loved her, but look at them now that she left. Look what they did for her. They never helped her at all, just kissed up to her. Others might be alike, but they have a reason. Iwa hates them because the Yondaime Hokage killed many of their people. Suna used to because Konoha took the money from here and never helped them, despite being allies. They are also full of assholes. Look at the White Fang, their most powerful shinobi, stronger than the Sannin, harassed into suicide for doing what the village is always going on about. Teamwork and comrades are important, yet he is harassed into for putting his comrades first. They even forced Ida. Naruto ranted furiously until Satsuki interrupted him. Gaara had to admit he made some, okay, a lot, of good points. He still needed to know why they were here. He had some suspicions, but just to be sure, alright, you bring up a lot of good points, but why are you here? He asked. Naruto looked at Gaara and said bluntly, we want your help to destroy Konoha. The Kazekage sighed and said, I really want to help you Naruto, after all, you're my best friend, but my village is very important to me. If we waged war against Konoha, we might lose and this time, they might destroy this village. Don't worry Gaara, me and Satsuki will infiltrate Konoha later and destroy and damage a good part of the village. You should ready your forces and tell them to start training hard. When we deliver a message via Toad. When we do, you should send your forces. We will go back and I will summon Gamabunta to help me. We should be able to destroy them to the point that they aren't a threat. After that, we could destroy that place to the ground. The blonde said seriously to the Kazekage. Gaara contemplated this. There were a few benefits to this. One was that if the people heard that they destroyed Konoha, the strongest nation, many clients would come to them, which would highly increase the economy of Suna. The daimyo was still sending some missions for Suna to Konoha like before. Another was that if they did destroy it, they could take over the land, giving them the geological benefits of it. Suna and Konoha had different geological benefits. It would give them more area to help both civilians and shinobi. More training fields. More marketing places. The alliance didn't help them as much as it did Konoha, but they had to agree to avoid being destroyed. He also got to help his best friend. Okay Naruto, I will try to convince the council that we should go to war with them. I'm with you, but the council will need some convincing. After all, you can't easily convince them that 2 16-year-olds are a better ally than a whole village, right? Chuckled the redhead. Naruto nodded and replied. Okay Gaara, me and Satsuki will come back in about 2 weeks to get the answer. He said happily. Oh yeah Gaara. Here, Naruto fished into his kunai holder and took out a Hiraishin kunai, in case you need it. Gaara's eyes widened upon seeing the legendary kunai. He took it, but before he could ask any questions, the two disappeared in a bolt of lightning and a tornado of water. The blonde and Ravenet appeared a bit away from Suna. Now they needed to go to another place as well. Orochimaru's place. It was a good thing that Naruto had left a Hiraishin kunai hidden in the land of hot springs during one of the rests they had when coming to Suna. Naruto grabbed Satsuki by her midriff and pulled her closer, which caused a small tint of pink on her cheeks, and teleported them to the nation of hot springs. After landing safely near the border of fire, hot springs, and Oto, they quickly hurried towards the hidden sound village. Satsuki knew precisely where it was, having gotten a map for it 3 years ago. They hid behind the rocks around the village that was erected by Orochimaru during the 3 years from a small base to a town-sized village. The two partners phased out and knocked the protectors of the gate out. Taking in the appearance of the two Oto ninja, Naruto and Satsuki performed the Ippai Henge, an advanced form of the normal henge. It was just as it was named, a solid transformation of what you wanted to be. It was a ninjutsu-genjutsu hybrid, mostly ninjutsu though, that was accidentally recreated by Naruto during the academy days. They looked at the schedule for the time the guards patrolled. Since their time was nearly done, they departed from the gates and traveled to the stone house at the middle of the village. They quickly reached it and went inside, only to find 2 more Oto ninjas. They looked at the 2 hanged shinobi and questioned why they were there. After replying that they needed to file a report for their guard duties, they were let through. They went down the dark stairs, releasing their transformation along the way. They finally entered the dark orange base of Orochimaru's and slowly searched each door. Suddenly, they paused as they sensed someone coming. "Maiseigakur," Satsuki whispered, touching Naruto's shoulder, and faded away into thin air. A few moments later, a man recognized as Kabuto Yakushi walked through the halls. They stealthily walked past the man, but they were unprepared for him to suddenly cover his hands in chakra, creating a chakra scalpel, and slashing Naruto at his face. Through his instincts alone, Naruto was just barely able to dodge it. Satsuki blurred behind the bastard who hurt her best friend and shoved a kunai through the back of his heart. Of course, he survived this due to his Aniu Shamatsu. He didn't see the Udoma Rasengan coming right at his stomach. Kabuto flew through the air in a spiral pattern until they couldn't see him. Continuing through the halls, they finally came across the door that hid Orochimaru from them. Satsuki charged her right hand with lightning chakra and condensed it. She then thrust her hand forward, the lightning lengthening, going straight through the door until they heard flesh being pierced. Naruto kicked the door down, Benaheim covered by wind chakra. They saw Orochimaru with his hands up. Orochimaru was a tall man with long black hair. His skin was so pale that it looked like his skin was paste white. His eyes were angular and very snake-like with pale golden pupils. His ears had purple tomo-shaped earrings. He was wearing a red button-up shirt with brown palm trees on it. His hands were raised up in an X position, Satsuki's Chidori spear. Satsuki walked closer to the snake-like man, her lightning spear going forward as well. The pedophile snake forced his hand to the side so that it didn't pierce his face. She used her free hand to take out Karasu and swerving it down vertically. A distortion appeared at the air before it was covered by azure flames. They went straight towards the sick and unhealthy shinobi and burning his skin. The snake sage opened his mouth and another Orochimaru appeared from between. Satsuki and Naruto shivered. That is still creepy and disgusting as hell. They both thought the snake settled onto the ground and opened his mouth again. This time, however, a handle to a blade appeared. The handle was grabbed and pulled, which caused the rest of the blade to appear from. Orochimaru swung the blade at them, its length increasing. Naruto and Satsuki dodged to the side and jumped towards him. Naruto created an Udoma Rasengan in his hand while Satsuki created a Chidori. They pulled their hands back and threw them forward. Orochimaru ducked under them and kicked them upwards. While in the air, the two friends glanced at each other and after a quick confirmation from each other, they turned to each other and held out their jutsu to each others. The A-ranked jutsus collided without any force. Unexpectedly, the two jutsus absorbed into each other. A white light appeared in between their nearly conjoined hands. When the light disappeared, a black sphere with dark purple lightning coursing inside the most inner shell. Black electricity was shooting out of the sphere. They both pulled back and yelled, "Collaboration, Yami's Inazuma no Shikyu," and hurled the purple sphere towards one of the legendary Sannin. It hit its target and Orochimaru was at the ground bloody. He slightly and was able to just barely open his mouth. Something shot out of it and Orochimaru's body died. They both looked towards the place where the thing went and saw. Orochimaru ducked under them and kicked them upwards. While in the air, the two friends glanced at each other and after a quick confirmation from each other, they turned to each other and held out their jutsu to each others. The A-ranked jutsus collided without any force. Unexpectedly, the two jutsus absorbed into each other. A white light appeared in between their nearly conjoined hands. When the light disappeared, a black sphere with dark purple lightning coursing inside the most inner shell. Black electricity was shooting out of the sphere. They both pulled back and yelled, "Collaboration, Yami's Inazuma no Shikyu," and hurled the purple sphere towards one of the legendary Sannin. It hit its target and Orochimaru was at the ground bloody. He slightly and was able to barely open his mouth. Something shot out of it and Orochimaru's body died. They both looked towards the place where the thing went and saw a giant white snake made up of many smaller snakes, with longer, spikier hair, a scaled face with snake-like teeth and a long tongue, black eye markings, and a pointed chin. Orochimaru hurled his head towards Naruto with his mouth wide open. Releasing his killer intent, he Hiraishined behind the snake and blasted him with a futon, Ryujin. The massive wind dragon shredded Orochimaru all over, leaving many deep cuts all over his body. Orochimaru then went to Sasuke, but was blasted by lightning. However, the snake turned into a mud clone. From behind Naruto, the head of Orochimaru came at him. Naruto, caught off guard, got swallowed. Then, Orochimaru started his living corpse reincarnation jutsu. Mental plane. Naruto appeared in a place in which the ground was full of moving, slimy, organs. Orochimaru also appeared in front of him. Both were covered in the organs so he could only see the snake Sannin's hair and face, which had returned to human form. "Hello Naruto-kun, this is my mindscape. Here, everything is in my control, I am God. I will take over your body, use your memories, and take over Satsuki-chan's body at a later time, kukukukuku." Insanely laughed. "Mindscape huh, idiot." Naruto smirked and closed his eyes. Suddenly, the area around them started to shimmer until all there was a dark void. Then, it started to change once again. This time, they appeared in an area where everything was golden and white with stars all around. Where Naruto met Kushina. Naruto attacked Orochimaru. Orochimaru was about to dodge, but unable to move. He looked down and widened his eyes upon seeing golden chains around his legs. Naruto created a futon, Rasengan that tore through his body. Orochimaru died in the mindscape as black chakra seeped out of his body and into Naruto. The Uzumaki had just absorbed all the jutsus, knowledge, and chakra of Orochimaru. In his last breath, Orochimaru asked, "How did you do this? This is my mindscape, I am God here." "You are not God Orochipido," he insulted, "you are a mere mortal with a god complex. I am a Jinchuriki, I can easily access my mindscape. You need a jutsu or meditation to go in here, I can do it at will. When you had foolishly told me it was a mindscape, you didn't realize that I could also control it. After that, it was a mere matter to transfer us here to my mindscape, where my will is much stronger than yours. I control this realm," he explained. Real world. When Naruto was swallowed by Orochimaru, Satsuki was very angry. She charged a Chidori through her hands and put forth more chakra. The Chidori grew in size until it was the size of an Udama Rasengan. She ran towards the giant snake and slammed it right at his head. This destroyed the head. Then, a Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu to the rest of the body and it was burned into ashes. The Ravenet then went to the unconscious Naruto and put his head on her lap. She looked at his face adoringly while softly petting his whiskers. He unconsciously purred and she giggled. Naruto finally woke up to see that he was in Suki-chan's lap. He got up after a few moments of enjoying it. What happened in there, Naruto-kun? Satsuki asked curiously, her head unconsciously tilted to the right. Cute. Orochimaru tried to take over my mind, but the idiot was stupid and died in there. I absorbed his chakra, knowledge of the ninja world, as well as all the jutsu he know. I'm gonna teach them to you. The teen replied. Satsuki nodded her head to both the answer as well as him teaching her Orochimaru's jutsu. For the next few days, Satsuki had her Sharingan copy almost every jutsu of Orochimaru's that Naruto used. Some of them were already known to her and some were ones that Naruto that was disgusting or not good for them. She learned Binding Snake Glare Spell, Chakra Scalpel, Earth Release, Hiding Like a Mole Technique, Earth Release, Shadow Clone, 4 Symbols Seal, Fuinjutsu Trap, Genjutsu Binding, Hidden Doorway Technique, Hidden Shadow Snake Hands, Hideout Destruction Trap, Hiding in Surface Technique, Many Hidden Shadow Snake Hands, Shadow Clone Technique, Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique, Snake Mouth Bind, Sound Wave Technique, Summoning, Impure World Reincarnation, Summoning, Rashomon, Summoning, Triple Rashomon, Sword of Kusanagi, Longsword of the Sky, Temporary Paralysis Technique from him. Once Satsuki had copied all the jutsu, they both created hundreds of Kage Bunshin and had 19 Kage Bunshin focus on each one. After they all practiced for an hour, all the groups would dispel one at a time, 10 seconds each. Since the chakra left always went back to the user, plus their very high reserves, they were able to create more. This went on for 5 hours every day. Due to this, they had allotted a total amount of 21 days and 21 hours for each technique. They mastered every single jutsu. The two had also created a summoning seal with the Kusanagi. The seal connected to a seal they both had on their right arm. This way, they could both use the legendary sword when needed. Naruto and Satsuki had also trained with Kusanagi every day. They mastered the sword's different uses and figured out a way to merge it into their kenjutsu style, which allowed the 2S class ranked shinobi to use either 1 or 2 swords to fight. Since they still had 5 more days left to go to the bridge, Naruto explored some of Orochimaru's memories and discovered some people who could help them in their quest. There were 3 people, Suigetsu Hazuka, Karen Uzumaki, and a person named Jugo, whose body could apparently absorb nature chakra. When Naruto found out about Karen being his family, he was ecstatic to meet her. After discussing this with his best friend, the two agreed to go get the 3 as they would be helpful. Both headed towards Suigetsu since he was the closest. The teens headed towards the lab that contained Suigetsu. After 10 minutes of traveling, they finally got to lab number 18. They dived underwater and went over to the other side of the area. After resurfacing, they both pulled themselves up and channeled chakra to their feet to walk on water. Looking around, they found themselves in an area with many holding tubes. Naruto and Satsuki went towards the only one that held a being. After getting right in front of it, the Uchiha heiress withdrew her sword and cut the tube open, spilling all the water out. She then sheathed Karasu. From all the remaining water on the floor, a white goop started to come up. It morphed into a being afterwards. Suigetsu is a lean-built young man of average height, straight white hair with a light blue tint to it, almond-shaped purple eyes, and like most of the members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist, he has pointed teeth, one of which stuck out even when his mouth was closed. He wears a purple, sleeveless shirt with blue pants, sandals and a belt around his waist with water bottles attached to it. He also had another belt attached to his waist. As he was standing up he said, "Thank you. Naruto Uzumaki, Satsuki Uchiha," the clan heirs introduced. "Thank you for freeing me, I assume that you both killed Orochimaru since you are both here. The white-haired teen said. Yeah. Satsuki nodded. Suigetsu, you're the first, come with us. Naruto said seriously. So, I'm the first, meaning, we'll get more company. He asked. 2 more. The raven-haired woman said. Jugo from the northern hideout of Orochimaru's and Karen Uzumaki from the southern hideout. Naruto continued. Uzumaki, you and Karen are related? Suigetsu questioned. Yeah, I'm not sure how, but we are from the same clan. The blonde-haired shinobi said. Damn it, he muttered. With their heightened senses, the two heard him and Satsuki asked. What? It's just that, I'm not fond of them. I don't think I'll get along with those two. Myself aside, I wonder what you two plan to do with those two after retrieving them, the aspiring swordsman of the mist replied. Doesn't matter, we aren't asking you three to get along, just work together, you don't have to be best friends. Now let's go, Naruto replied then commanded. Satsuki and he walked off, but Suigetsu started laughing. He said, speaking like you're better than me, are you? The purple-wearing shinobi phased out and in, right behind Naruto, holding his thumb and ring finger in a gun position. Let's make our relationship clear, he was interrupted by a puff of smoke. When it cleared, Naruto was behind him, Kushina's sword at his throat. Fine, you helped me due to your own convenience. I haven't said a single word about coming with you and your girlfriend. She isn't my boyfriend, girlfriend. They replied with blushes on their cheek. In his opinion, Satsuki looked pretty beautiful and cute. All 3 compliments intended. Whatever, you two aren't above me just cause you two killed Orochimaru. Everyone was after him, you guys just got there faster. The boys said. After a stare down between them, Suigetsu just jumped forward a bit and said. Just kidding, since you two freed me, I guess that I'm free to go. Finally able to do what I want. The boy said and walked off. The Uchiha and Uzumaki heirs just sighed and said, I see, how unfortunate. And left. Time skip. Outside the lab. 2 minutes later. As they were walking through the forest, a voice came up front. Come to think of it, wasn't it you two and your sensei who defeated my great senpai, Zabuza Momochi? They stopped walking and looked at the giant puddle that Suigetsu was swimming in. I wonder what happened to his sword, the Kubikiribocho. A short pause, how about this, if you two lead me to the sword, I won't mind helping you two. He offered. Naruto opened his holster and took out a scroll with a kanji for sword. Naruto poured a bit of his chakra in and, with poof of smoke, the decapitating carving knife appeared. He threw it towards Suigetsu who easily caught his dream blade. Where did you get this? He asked the blonde. When we buried Zabuza and Haku, a Yuki member and Zabuza's apprentice, I knew that the sword would get stolen, so I took it and sealed it in a scroll. Naruto replied. Satsuki and Suigetsu nodded and all 3 headed out towards the southern base to find Karen Uzumaki, the next member to their team. As they were walking through the forest, a voice came up front, come to think of it, wasn't it you two and your sensei who defeated my great senpai, Zabuza Momochi? They stopped walking and looked at the giant puddle that Suigetsu was swimming in. I wonder what happened to his sword, the Kubikiribocho. A short pause, how about this, if you two lead me to the sword, I won't mind helping you two. He offered. Naruto opened his holster and took out a scroll with a kanji for sword. Naruto poured a bit of his chakra in and, with poof of smoke, the decapitating carving knife appeared. He threw it towards Suigetsu who easily caught his dream blade. Where did you get this? He asked the blonde. When we buried Zabuza and Haku, a Yuki member and Zabuza's apprentice, I knew that the sword would get stolen, so I took it and sealed it in a scroll. Naruto replied. Satsuki and Suigetsu nodded and all 3 headed out towards the southern base to find Karen Uzumaki, the next member to their team. At an island to the south, a scream echoed out as a woman wearing lavender uniform that exposes her navel, short black shorts, and long black thigh-high stockings with black sandals. Her face and hair shadowed. Just because that bastard Orochimaru is dead doesn't mean that you can run free, you killers. The woman spoke. Suddenly, the woman froze. She had just sensed a huge amount of warm chakra. She had never felt anything as warm and kind as it. As she probed it, she felt herself freeze in fear. Deeper inside this warm chakra was an evil and sinister feeling. It was as if it was made of anger and hatred. For some reason, the chakra was approaching her location. This chakra and the feeling with it was a little familiar to her. She remembered sensing it around 3.5 years ago. She walked through the jail cells, allowing them all to see the woman in front of them. She has crimson eyes, fair skin, and the characteristic red hair of the Uzumaki clan. Her hair is short and spiky on the right side, while longer and straight on the left side. She wears brown narrow glasses and her outfit consists of a lavender uniform that exposes her navel, short black shorts, and long black thigh-high stockings with black sandals. This was Karen Uzumaki of the Uzumaki clan. She was kidnapped by Orochimaru, who, as she later discovered, had killed her entire family without her knowing. He had appeared as a man who wanted to help her, and she, as an impressionable child, followed him. For the longest time, she had been loyal to him until she had discovered him when he was talking to his ass-fuck buddy, Kabuto. The bastard had knew she was there, so she was forced to heal who he wanted with her blood. She had a unique bloodline, well, bloodlines. Anyways, her blood allowed anyone to heal instantly. She had trained in Fuinjutsu after she had eventually remembered her clan from her mother. She had kept this a secret from her captor though. She had also trained in some other things. After all, she was an Uzumaki and she had obtained their limitless energy and stamina as well as hyperactivity, just more controlled. With Naruto, Sasuke, Suigetsu, the trio were walking through the water in the middle of somewhere. They had been walking to the southern hideout for 2 hours now. Finally, an island appeared in front of them. They ran towards it, positive, at least Naruto, that it was the southern hideout. The appearance was very weird. It was a bunch of rocks, that were probably hollow, jutted upwards. They arrived at the shoreline and looked around only to see a cave entrance. The new team walked through the entrance and saw another door. Satsuki and Suigetsu noticed that there were no guards around the door. Why are there no guards here? Sui voiced the question. There is no need. After all, she guards it, spoke Naruto. His borrowed knowledge from Orochipido had given him everything Orochi knew. You mean Karen? What makes her so special that only she needs to guard this entire prison? He asked while destroying the door with his new sword. She is a sensor with a vast range. She can sense things that are miles away. The blonde shinobi answered. Sui nodded to the answer, indicating he understood. They went inside the hideout and throughout the stone prison. Naruto sent out a pulse of chakra. It bounced every way until he finally found Karen. He put his arms around Satsuki's waist instinctively and Sui's shoulder. He didn't see Satsuki's blush or hear Sui's thoughts. I thought Naruto said they weren't boyfriend-girlfriend. In a flash of white, blue, and black, the trio appeared in front of a stunned and surprised Uzumaki. An unspoken Uzumaki concerning rule, never appear out of nowhere and surprise them. Kongo Fusa, the teen spoke as multiple golden chains rushed from her held-out palms and attacked the intruders. Naruto summoned his own adamantine chains, though they were swords. He slashed the golden chains with his own golden sword, Gorodenshireya. Wait, we're friends. Naruto shouted at her. She didn't trust them, but she let her chains rest to hear them out. All right, talk, the redhead demanded. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. He was interrupted by Karen's wide eyes and her exclamation of, Uzumaki. What do you mean Naruto Uzumaki? I mean that I am an Uzumaki. My mother was Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto pointed out. Kushina. That name sounds familiar. Realization appeared on her face. Oh, yeah, Kushina Uzumaki, my mom's cousin. Ka-chan always talked about her. Guess we are cousins then, nay? She asked in amusement. The reply she got was, hey, guess so. With a smirk. So, why are ya here? She asked. Satsuki Uchiha points at his crush, Suigetsu Hazuka points at his new comrade, and I are making a new team. We will have one more member with us. What do you say, cuz? Wanna join? He asked. What about Orochimaru? She asked nervously. She might hate the motherfucker, but he was still much stronger than her. Don't worry, we killed him. Just don't spread it out though, can't let anyone know. He smiled warmly at her. Satsuki twitched upon seeing it. They were family, so it was natural, but it still bothered her at the thought of her best friend being with other girls. Wait, do I love Naruto? She blushed at the thought, which confused the hell out of Sui and Karen. After sorting her thoughts out and throwing in the reasons she could like him, she confirmed that she did love her crush. Meanwhile, Karen nodded at Naruto's request. After that, they left the base. When they got out, Satsuki and Naruto glanced at each other and nodded. Futon. Tatsumaki. Naruto gathered his wind chakra at his lungs and breathed it out. It started to swirl until it was a giant tornado. It gathered the water around it to form an outer shell made of water. Raiden. Kyushu Kaminari. Satsuki brought her pale hands downwards, causing unnatural lightning to fly towards the water typhoon. Collaboration. Kaminari no Tatsumaki. They shouted. The lightning mixed with the water and vaporized it, leaving only vapor around the tornado. The tornado now had little water droplets around it. Every time the water vapor was cooled, the lightning vaporized it. The blue plasma was jumping from water droplets to droplets, vaporizing them while they turned back to water. The tornado was surrounded by lightning all over after a while. Naruto and Satsuki then brought the tornado down from the sky on top of the base, completely shredding and burning it. Suigetsu and Karen were shocked upon seeing the power that their friends had. They shook it off and excitedly asked what the hell that was. The clan heiress smiled and explained it to the other members. So who are we going to get next? I remember you saying you need one more person. Since you have Suigetsu and me, I'm guessing it is someone from Orochimaru's. She asked. Naruto looked at her and nodded to her question, but Satsuki was the one who spoke. We're gonna recruit Jugo from the northern hideout. She nodded. She didn't have a problem with the guy, just thought that he was a psychopath. At an island to the northern hideout. At an area made of brown rocks that were pretty tall, a sound of insane laughter echoed throughout the walls of the hideout. Looking at the inside of a certain cell, we find a man with orange hair laughing insanely while saying, if the next person to come works for Orochimaru, I will kill him or her. Jugo is a tall, muscular young man who has spiky orange hair, red-orange eyes. He wore a pale blue shirt and pale green shorts. He has a giant, black metal ball chained to his leg. He freezes as he feels a large amount of negative energy. He calms down from his murderous side. Outside the northern hideout, the quartet arrived at the outskirts of the hideout. The group of four headed inside the hideout, sensing the strongest chakra inside the cells. Finally arriving at the cell holding it, Satsuki opened it. Jugo looked up to see a ravenet woman. He asked, do you work for Orochimaru? Satsuki nodded her head no. Why are you here then? He asked once again. We're here to free you and if you want, to join our team. Naruto voiced. Free. No 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 no. He shook his head. You can't free me. If you do, I'll get angry then go insane and hurt you. He stated confidently though hurt. Don't worry Jugo, I can absorb Senjutsu chakra due to an incident that happened 16 years ago. Since you get angry and the Senjutsu amplifies it, I can absorb it while you learn control. You can train with it to control with me near you. What do you say Jugo, would you like to come? Naruto offered. After thinking about it, Jugo nodded his head. Clothes landed on him and he looked at Satsuki. Get dresses, can't have you going out like that, can we? She told him. They left the cell while Jugo changed. Now he had on a black muscle shirt with gray cargo pants. He then left his cell. Naruto, Satsuki, since we are all gathered now, what is our goal? Suigetsu asked. Our goal is to destroy Konoha ultimately. Don't attack recklessly though. Me and Satsuki will go to Konoha with you three. We have a plan ready. Naruto told them. Anyways, right now we need to be patient. I will take you to our base, Uzu. You three will train of the schedule that we will create for each of you. I will teleport you there. We will be back in a few days, alright? While the trio were hesitant, they nodded and he put his hands on Suigetsu and Karen, who touched Jugo and Satsuki's shoulders. Concentrating on the Hiraishin mark that was on Uzu, he teleported them to the island. Naruto then grabbed Satsuki's waist and Hiraishined them to the outskirts of Oto. Since they had 1 day left to meet the Konoha team at Tenchi Bridge, they had a plan to lure the Konoha ninja to attack them and follow them to their base. When there, they would make a clone of themselves to give a message to Kakashi. They knew that Kakashi would be there since they were there. Kaka-sensei was one of the few people they liked at Konoha. 3 hours later. They had been running for 3 hours now. They were at Takigakure, a village they had saved in the past. As they were running through the forest, they heard the sounds of fighting. Naruto sent out a pulse of chakra towards it and Hiraishined there with his hands around Satsuki. When they appeared in a blue and black flash, they saw 2 people fighting with a girl around their age. The girl was petite, androgynous, tan-skinned kunoichi, who wore an orange clip in her short, layered mint green hair that matched her eye color, which was also orange. Her ninja outfit consisted of a short sleeveless white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets, and fishnet shorts with a short white apron skirt over it. Her forehead protector was worn on her right arm, though it had a slash on it. Fu also carried a cylindrical object in red wrapping on her back. The attackers were people that Naruto recognized as Hidan and Kakuzu. Kakuzu was a very tall, tan-skinned man with long dark brown hair. His eyes had an unusual coloring, green irides, no pupils and red sclerae. He still appears as a man well within his prime, retaining a very muscular build, despite his advanced age. He retained the black mask over his lower face but had several changes. He donned a white hood which covered his hair. His clothing included the traditional Akatsuki cloak, the Takigakure forehead protector with a scratch in the middle which symbolized that he was no longer loyal to it, and gray pants with matching shinobi sandals. He also wore brown nail polish, and a dark green Akatsuki ring with the kanji for North was placed on his left middle finger. He had various stitches on his body. Hidan has medium-length gray hair that was slicked back and distinctive purple eyes. He had no shirt, but bears the organization's cloak, which he kept slightly opened, revealing his Yugakure forehead protector around his neck and Jashin amulet. He changes his bottoms to gray pants with matching shinobi sandals. He also wore dark green nail polish and his orange Akatsuki ring on his left index finger, which bears the kanji for 3. They had been running for 3 hours now. They were at Takigakure, a village they had saved in the past. As they were running through the forest, they heard the sounds of fighting. Naruto sent out a pulse of chakra towards it and Hiraishin there with his hands around Satsuki. When they appeared in a blue and black flash, they saw 2 people fighting with a girl around their age. The girl was petite, androgynous, tan-skinned kunoichi, who wore an orange clip in her short, layered mint green hair that matched her eye color, which was also orange. Her ninja outfit consisted of a short sleeveless white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets, and fishnet shorts with a short white apron skirt over it. Her forehead protector was worn on her right arm, though it had a slash on it. Fu also carried a cylindrical object in red wrapping on her back. The attackers were people that Naruto recognized as Hidan and Kakuzu. Kakuzu was a very tall, tan-skinned man with long dark brown hair. His eyes had an unusual coloring, green irides, no pupils and red sclerae. He still appears as a man well within his prime, retaining a very muscular build, despite his advanced age. He retained the black mask over his lower face but had several changes. He donned a white hood which covered his hair. His clothing included the traditional Akatsuki cloak, the Takigakure forehead protector with a scratch in the middle which symbolized that he was no longer loyal to it, and gray pants with matching shinobi sandals. He also wore brown nail polish, and a dark green Akatsuki ring with the kanji for North was placed on his left middle finger. He had various stitches on his body. Hidan has medium-length gray hair that was slicked back and distinctive purple eyes. He had no shirt, but bears the organization's cloak, which he kept slightly opened, revealing his Yugakure forehead protector around his neck and Jashin amulet. He changes his bottoms to gray pants with matching shinobi sandals. He also wore dark green nail polish and his orange Akatsuki ring on his left index finger, which bears the kanji for 3. Knowing information about some of Akatsuki thanks to Orochimaru's knowledge, the two partners knew about the immortal duo. Kakuzu had 5 hearts that let him live even if killed unless 5 times. Hidan was an immortal due to some god that was named Jashin. They didn't know why Orochimaru never become a Jashinist since the bastard had no problems with killing other people. He would bring utter chaos and destruction with deaths all over. That was all that was required. With Fu had been captured, or better said, given, to 2 people. One of these 2 she knew. Kakuzu, a man who had lived for over 100 years. A powerful man that had fought the god of shinobi, Hashirama Senju. The man used a sacred kinjutsu called Earth Grudge Fear. The Earth Grudge Fear is a secret kinjutsu of Takigakure which transforms the user's body into something similar to that of a rag doll, held together by hundreds of thick black threads. Kakuzu had stole the knowledge of this technique before his defection from Takigakure and was able to manipulate black threads for many purposes. Some of them were listed on his page in the bingo book. This technique allowed the missing nin to have 5 hearts, meaning that he had to be killed 5 times. Anyways, Fu was given to the 2 men by the council of Taki, ignoring the vote of the village leader. The 2 Akatsuki members had gone on to Takigakure, due to Kakuzu's plan, and went to the council. The ninjas had been hesitant to attack one of their most powerful shinobi yet, as well as his companion, an S-class missing nin. Fu still remembered what that damn council of bastards did and what happened afterwards. Fu's flashback. Fu was in a sacred place to her. It was hidden behind a waterfall that no one had ventured into. On the other side was a very small waterfall that poured into a lake at the center of a grove. Unlike the falls that hid Taki's entrance, the clearing had several sparse groupings of flowers. Their fragrance, combined with the crisp, clean air produced by the water and the earthen scent of the forest gave the area an appeal even the majestic falls outside of Taki's entrance lacked. As Fu was relaxing by the peaceful river, a conversation was happening within her mindscape. Fu was in a large forest. The forest was covered in large deciduous trees. As Fu kept walking throughout the area, she finally arrived to a clearing. The clearing had a small stream with fishes swimming. Sunlight shone through the thick trees, making the clearing appear as on spotlight. Next to a stream, there was a log that was used as a seat for a man. The man had long, spiky blue hair. Madara-style orange eyes. He wore a long-sleeved light blue shirt and pants, with mesh armor shirt and fitted black suit underneath, along with calf-length sandals. Around his waist he wore a brown sash that held a brown armor-like breastplate with a pouch in the front, a brown back plate on the back that is connected to the front with mesh armor, and armored lapels falling to the sides. This was the human form of Chome, the Nanbi, the rhinoceros beetle. The man looked at the 18-year-old teen and spoke, "Hello young pupa, I guess that you want to leave this village now?" The man asked her. He had seen the life of the girl and felt sympathy for her. After all, most no Jinchuriki were treated like the biju they contained, like weapons and monsters. Chome had always hated civilians and low-tiered ninja like genin, those didn't know the difference between the water and the glass. He somewhat respected the Jonin and Anbu, seeing as they knew the difference between a scroll and a kunai. Yes, I am Chome, the minted-haired girl said with a cheerful smile. The narrowed eyes that was returned made her drop the expression. She changed her face to neutral and nodded her head. Yes, I am ready to leave this hellhole of a village. The Jinchuriki spoke. I can help you escape Fu. Just use my wings. I will channel chakra so that you can fly out. Just ask for a solo mission first. Chome told her. Fu nodded her head and left the mindscape with a final, bye. Real world. When Fu opened her bright orange eyes, she got up and left through the waterfall. After she left, a bug came at her with a message on it. She let the beetle on her fingers and took the message. It was a summoning for her to be at the council meeting. Her eyes narrowed at the paper, knowing that something bad was gonna happen. The council, besides Shibuki, hated her. They made sure to stay away from her as much as possible. Knowing that she had to go anyways, she shunshined to the cage tower at the center of the village. After getting through the Anbu, she entered the council room. There was a large oval table. On the top, there was the village head, Shibuki. Surrounding him on the left were 20 civilians. On the other side, there were 18 Jonins. Each part counted for power. Shibuki has 1 point, the Jonin 1, and the civilians 1. Looking at the back, she saw someone who caused her fear. Kakuzu, a missing ninja from her own village. The other man she didn't know, but she suspected was a bit weaker or stronger than Kakuzu. Fu turned to the council and put up a cheerful facade. What can I do for the honorable council today? She questioned. One of the civilians sneered at her and said, Demon bitch, you are going with Kakuzu-sama. Looking at Kakuzu with fear. Once he said this, Fu's eyes widened in unhidden fear, much to the glee of the civilians as well as some of the Jonin. Fu quickly shunshined outside the village and grew her wings. Inwardly asking her friend to channel chakra to them, she flew off as fast as she could. She flew through some hand signs and spoke, Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. 5 clones appeared next to her and all flew in different ways. As she was flying, she spread out her senses to see if the 2 people were chasing her. She sensed 2 chakra signatures right behind her and 2 larger chakra signatures to her northern left, 5 minutes away. Just as she was about to head to them, hoping for help, she felt a thread wrap around her legs. Fu struggled against it, but Kakuzu was stronger and she was pulled towards him. Trying to buy some time, she went through the required hand signs and shouted out, Hidden, Rinpungakur no Jutsu. The powder exploded, creating bright light that blinded the 2 Akatsuki members and leaving Fu to escape. The Jinchuriki jumped towards the tree and flew off towards the chakra signatures. She was once again caught after 3 minutes when the man named Hidan threw his triple-bladed scythe that wrapped around her. She tried to escape, but her efforts were futile. The 2 partners carried the little girl to their nearest base. As they were moving, Fu kept struggling against the scythe. Finally breaking out, she fought them using her tenant's chakra. It didn't cover her in a red cloak since she had control over it. She went through the scythe and flew in front of them. Deciding that running was incompetent, she decided to fight them until the chakra signatures came. Chome had informed her that one was a Jinchuriki and she hoped that she could help her. Mojiro, the genin spoke as she blew towards the missing nin. From her mouth came a huge web that flew straight at them. It covered them, but Hidan used his scythe to cut through it. The webs being enhanced with Biju chakra, the scythe didn't work and was rebelled. The webs that touched the 2 members started to drain their chakra. While they was being drained, Kakuzu unleashed 3 of his masks and let loose 3 jutsu. The strange mask that had a 4-legged body with thin wings let out Futon, Daitapa. The mask with a demonic, beaked bipedal used Suiden, Taki no Tekuniku. The mask of a deformed bipedal used Raiden, Gion. The collaboration jutsu tore through the net and went straight towards Futon. Cho Udama Karasengan, a huge, spinning ball of fire came out of nowhere and struck the other jutsu. Naruto and Satsuki. Naruto and Satsuki narrowed their eyes at the giant combo jutsu. Knowing that she wouldn't be able to stop it since she gave out spikes of fear, the two best friends put their hands together. Naruto created a futon Rasengan and made it grow bigger and bigger until it was the same size as the other jutsu. Satsuki blew a small continuous stream of fire that surrounded the Rasengan. It collided with the wind and created a giant, spinning Rasengan that was covered in fire. They both held it with their hands and collided with the dangerous water vortex of lightning. Futon Cho Udama Karasengan. The vortex of water and ball of fire collided and created a bunch of steam with the lightning being decapitated. Naruto kicked the uncovered Cho Udama Rasengan towards Kakuzu and Hidan. The five-hearted man and Jashinist dodged the attack and looked at the two arrivals. Hidan looked at his partner and told him, "I'll fight the fucking blonde, you take that black-haired bitch." Satsuki told Naruto, "Take the gray hair, I'll take the other one." Kakuzu vs Satsuki. Satsuki and Kakuzu charged forward toward each other, both shooting their right fists forward. The two fists slammed into each other, but neither shinobi gave an inch. Satsuki then quickly threw a left hook. Kakuzu just moved his head, effectively dodging it. The two then jumped back several feet. Kakuzu could feel how strong Satsuki's chakra was, at least he sensed how strong the amount he put out was. Kakuzu, knowing that this wouldn't end well if he went easy, quickly tore off his Akatsuki coat, revealing his purple shirt and gray pants underneath. "I'll finish this quickly, so I can hurry up and get the Jinchuriki and be able to get bounties." Before Satsuki could even respond, Kakuzu jumped several feet into the air, ripped the mask off his face, revealing his long black hair and stitched-up mouth. He then performed a couple hand signs, lightning style, false darkness. Kakuzu's mouth opened, the stitches tearing out and a bolt of lightning shot out of it. It came rushing down at Satsuki at an incredible speed. Satsuki didn't have enough time to dodge, so she had to counter. She quickly formed Reikiri with her right hand, lifted it and quickly shot it forward. She cut right through the lightning bolt, but she could feel the pain of being hit with it the whole way. Satsuki's lightning blade quickly faded and she grabbed her arm in pain. It felt as she had cut through several trees with his bare hand, only without any chakra to help him. While Satsuki held her arm in pain, Kakuzu quickly formed a couple more hand signs, wind style, pressure damage. Kakuzu's stitched-up mouth once again ripped open and he fired a ball of air from his mouth, but he wasn't done just yet. He quickly formed several more hand signs, fire style, searing migraine. Before his stitches could reattach themselves, he shot out a ball of fire from his mouth. His stitches then sewed up his mouth once again. The fireball flew down towards Satsuki at an incredible speed, until it slammed into the ball of air and fused together with it. The wind ball became twice as big, as did the fireball inside it, and it was heading straight at the pain-stricken Satsuki. Satsuki looked up at it. There wasn't too much of a success rate for dodging that, plus she didn't want this guy to set the whole forest on fire. So she quickly formed a Rasengan, raised his left arm and shot it forward, slamming the Rasengan into the double jutsu. Satsuki and Naruto had learned a few jutsu from each other. Rasengan and Chidori were one of them. The Rasengan and the two jutsu clashed for several seconds until the fire and wind jutsu dissolved into nothing. Satsuki took this as her chance. She quickly formed a second Rasengan in his right hand and jumped up at Kakuzu. Unfortunately for Kakuzu, he was caught off guard and Satsuki hit him with the double Rasengan extremely quickly. Double Rasengan. Satsuki grinded the two Rasengans into Kakuzu's chest until she tore two separate holes through his chest. The Rasengan then exploded. This sent Kakuzu flying 20 feet away. He busted through several trees, and when he hit the ground, he examined his body. Satsuki had taken out 2 of his 5 hearts already. The holes in Kakuzu's chest quickly reformed, the threads of his body weaving together. Satsuki watched as this happened. She couldn't help but think, what the fuck? His body is made of threads. Kakuzu got to his feet, looked at Satsuki and spoke, "You are heavily skilled, you destroyed 2 of my 5 hearts quite quickly. And now, as recompense, I'll be taking your heart for my own." Satsuki took a step back, her thoughts were all on the enemy of his. This isn't good at all. I need to end this quickly, or I'll be biting the dust soon. Satsuki quickly dashed towards Kakuzu, her fire-covered fists at the ready. Satsuki got up close to Kakuzu too fast, he wasn't able to dodge. Satsuki hit him with a right hook, then a left jab, then she slammed her knee into Kakuzu's stomach. Kakuzu then hunched over, the ravenet quickly brought down her right arm and shot it up, slamming her fist hard into Kakuzu's jaw, giving him a powerful uppercut. Kakuzu was knocked several feet into the air, but he quickly recomposed himself and landed on the ground. Satsuki then charged towards him once again. As Satsuki got closer, Kakuzu formed a few hand signs, Earth style, Iron Skin. Satsuki threw a right hook at Kakuzu and it connected with his face, but Kakuzu acted as if he barely felt it. Satsuki looked up at him, and noticed his skin had turned red. Shit. Kakuzu then threw a heavy right haymaker at Satsuki, it connected dead on with her face. This punch sent Satsuki flying for several feet. She quickly recomposed himself and landed behind a group of trees, wiping the blood that was trickling from out her bottom lip and down onto his chin, onto his sleeve. She then quickly and silently performed the shadow clone jutsu, creating 2 more of herself. 2 of the 3 Satsukis began silently making their way around, hoping to get behind Kakuzu. While the 3rd Satsuki came out from behind the trees and charged towards Kakuzu. Kakuzu didn't know what his opponent had done and he didn't care. He was too pissed off to locate any kind of deception or care for it. Kakuzu was extremely angry, so he was going to finish this now. He began forming a dozen or so hand signs. At the same time, one of the 3 Satsukis was hiding behind a nearby tree, gathering her chakra. Once she had gathered enough, the teen formed a dozen or so hand signs, put both of her hands into a claw shape, crouched down and put them near the ground. Chakra began to appear around her hands. The chakra became more and more violent looking. It began to spin around Satsuki's hands, until finally it turned into lightning. Raiden. Te no Shi. Satsuki quickly formed 2 lightning blades, stood up and charged forward, toward Kakuzu. Kakuzu noticed the 2nd Satsuki appear from behind a tree, and was about to finish his hand signs and perform his most powerful jutsu, but before he could, the 3rd Satsuki appeared behind him and stuck him in a full Nelson. Kakuzu tried to fight her off, and it was beginning to work, but Satsuki was only 7 feet away from him. Charging forward towards him with 2 lightning blades. Shit. Earth-style jutsu is the last kind of jutsu you want to use to defend against lightning-style jutsu. Before Kakuzu could dispel the jutsu, Satsuki got close to him, and thanks to the lightning blades, she was able to slam both of her hands through Kakuzu's chest once again. They went straight through him and destroyed Satsuki's own shadow clone in the process. Satsuki had destroyed 2 more of Kakuzu's hearts. Kakuzu's iron skin jutsu faded, he slammed down onto his knees and passed out. Satsuki pulled her hands out of Kakuzu and stood up straight. Then, Kakuzu caught Satsuki off guard by jumping up at her. He was supposed to be unconscious, but Satsuki reacted quickly by slamming her fist into Kakuzu's face, knocking him back down onto the ground. Satsuki knew that she had to finish this now. If she didn't, he might become overwhelmed. She quickly formed an abnormally sized Rasengan in his right hand and slammed it down into Kakuzu's chest. It fluctuated for several seconds before it exploded. Once the light from the explosion faded, Satsuki was standing over Kakuzu's limp, non-moving body. She had destroyed Kakuzu's final heart. Satsuki began to pant. she had used a large amount of chakra in a short amount of time. That was never a good thing. She walked towards Fu, knowing that she was a Jinchuriki. When she got there she said, "Hello," and sat down. Fu went through a few hand signs and covered Satsuki in her nets. Satsuki was too tired to dodge, so she got trapped. The webs healed her, much to her astonishment, and she smiled and thanked Fu. Naruto vs. Hidan. Hidan began to walk towards the Jinchuriki. Hidan's walk quickly turned into a run. Hidan began to shriek as he came close to Naruto. Ah! Hidan jumped into the air and came down at Naruto with his scythe. Naruto quickly rolled to his right, avoiding Hidan's scythe. Hidan quickly swung his scythe to his left, towards Naruto. Naruto jumped back, dodging the triple-bladed scythe once again. Hidan quickly turned towards Naruto and charged towards him again, and when he got close to him, he unleashed a barrage of swings with his scythe. Take this. Hya. Ha. RGH. Naruto just dodged the slashes one by one. He would move to the left, move to the right, duck down, jump up, anything to avoid being caught by one of those blades. Hidan was getting frustrated at this. Just stand still and die. Hidan brought the scythe over his head and slammed it down extremely fast. Naruto had rolled to the side hoping to avoid being cut with it, and fortunately it only cut through his pant leg, it hadn't hit his skin. Naruto, wanting to end the battle before he actually got nipped by the scythe, quickly threw a right haymaker at Hidan. Hidan was unable to dodge it and was hit with it full force. This sent him flying several feet away, but he quickly regained his composure and landed on his feet. Naruto wasn't done and neither was Hidan. Hidan charged forward towards Naruto once again, while Naruto put his hands together and performed the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto created 6 more of himself, so there was 7 Narutos in all. As Hidan drew closer, the Narutos began charging at him as well. When Hidan got in the range he needed to use his scythe, he quickly spun around, slamming his scythe into 3 shadow clones, causing them to disappear in a puff of smoke. While 3 of the 4 remaining Narutos jumped upon Hidan, slamming him down onto the ground and pinning him there. As Hidan struggled to break free from the Naruto's grips, he began to curse, "What the hell, you little brat? Get the fuck off of me. Fucking get off me." The last Naruto held out his right hand, his palm open, and without the help of another Naruto, he formed a Rasengan. He quickly jumped several feet into the air, and came plummeting down at Hidan. As the last Naruto got closer with his technique, Hidan just spoke 2 words, "Well fuck." Naruto was only 3 inches above Hidan, so he shot his right arm forward, slamming his Rasengan through his shadow clones and into Hidan. Naruto had slammed it into his gut. The Rasengan fluctuated for several seconds until it exploded. When the light from the explosion had faded, Naruto was standing over Hidan's body. There was a huge gaping hole in his torso. But there was no blood, no organs, or anything to be seen. This wasn't good. Naruto knew that he needed to kill Hidan quickly, so he got serious. Naruto created a futon, Rasen Shuriken, and threw it at the downed immortal. Hidan wouldn't be able to recover if his cells were destroyed, now can he? The wind shuriken hit Hidan and exploded, sending millions upon millions of tiny wind blades that destroyed the cells of the Jushinist. I could make it longer, but I have other things to write. After killing the Akatsuki member, Naruto went to see Fu and saw that both the girls were talking to each other. Fu and Satsuki saw the blonde come to them and looked over at him. When he finally got there, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki asked her, "Did Satsuki fill you in?" Fu nodded her head yes and said, "She did. You want to create your own village named Uzumaki and you want people like Jinchuriki to come there, yeah?" While she was explaining, "You came here, so any other goals?" she asked her fellow Jinchuriki. He nodded and told her that their other goal was to destroy Konoha. Fu had no problems and said, "I will join you guys, after all Jinchuriki have to stick together, right?" she asked with a wink. Tell them your reason. They are trustworthy, a deep voice echoed in her mind. She sighed and continued, I also want to make many friends who will accept me. Who knows? Maybe I can be happy. The ex-Taki ninja said. Alright Fu, Naruto will take you to Uzushiogakure and leave you there for a few days. There should be 3 other people there that will be friends with you, even if they know that you are a Biju container. Just be sure to train. Naruto and I have made a basic schedule, but you should implement it to your style. You should do more, but we don't have your skill set or your ability sheet, so you should make it on your own. We will be back in a few days, we have to go do some things. If you have any questions, Karen should be able to fill you in. Satsuki told her new ally. Fu only nodded, not believing that she would be free and actually would be liked. Naruto grabbed onto Fu's shoulder and teleported to Uzu. After dropping her off, he teleported back to Satsuki, who he had secretly marked. The two crushes then started travel to Tenchi Bridge. Tenchi Bridge. Team Kakashi had just arrived at Tenchi Bridge. Once they got there, Sai used his super beast imitating drawing technique to create small mice that scout out the Tenchi Bridge. After discovering that there are no traps or individuals on the bridge, thus ruling out the possibility of an Akatsuki ambush, Kakashi uses a henge to look like Hirako. Before doing so, he tells Sai, the replacement for Sasuke, or Satsuki Uchiha, Yamato, replacement for Naruto Uzumaki, and Sakura to be on standby in case something went wrong. Sai has short, straight black hair, and dark eyes which contrast with his translucent-looking pale skin. He carries a small backpack with his brush, scrolls, and ninja ink in it. He wears a short black and gray jacket with red straps, as customary of all root members. He also carries a tip-less tanto on his back. The rest of his outfit consisted of a high-collared midriff shirt, black pants, shinobi sandals and gloves with his index and thumb fingers exposed, most likely to facilitate the use of his drawing-based techniques. His jacket has a long right and short left sleeves. Yamato has short brown hair and black, almond-shaped eyes. He has a changed variation of the standard attire of a Konoha nin, with a flak jacket. The differences between his attire and that of the standard one is that his does not have the Uzushiogakure crest on the shoulders of the sleeves, and the neck of his navy blue shirt is form-fitting and goes up to his chin. He also still retains 2 hip pouches strapped to his lower back instead of just one. In addition to that, he has a Hapuri-style forehead protector that frames his face, similar to that of Tobirama Senju. When Naruto and Satsuki arrived at the bridge in Kusa, Naruto transformed into Kabuto and put on a blue cloak and went towards the bridge. Sasori also came onto the bridge and stood in front of a covered Kabuto. It's been a long time, Sasori-sama. Naruto said to keep in disguise. He already knew that it was Kakashi. The disguised genin slowly lifted up the hood and much to Kakashi's surprise, he saw Kabuto. He's Kabuto. The disguised man thought as he flashed back to when he had seen him jumping out the window. It's been 2 years, hasn't it? He questioned, not knowing when they had last met. In the bushes, Sakura's eyes widened in shock as she saw Kabuto, someone who had helped them. It also made her excited since if it was Kabuto, he should know where her precious Sasuke-kun and Naruto Baka are. Were you followed? Asked Kakashi in his deep voice. Kabuto faked looking around and looked at Satsuki, signaling her stealthily that she should prepare. He looked back to Sasori, and said, "We're okay." "How are you doing?" the Jonin asked. "I still have the strange sensation from when I remembered who I was after Jujutsu broke." He shook his head in an act and continued, "I feel heavy-headed. I've got a couple questions for you," stated Kakashi. "I don't have much time, so please keep it short. I risked my life trying to get away from Orochimaru without him finding out." He replied back. Sasori looked up and said, "I want information about his hideouts and Sasuke and Naruto." Naruto looked at him and, with info from Orochimaru, said, "We have multiple hideouts. We move each week to not get discovered. We have hideouts all over the elemental nations." The Konoha nin asked, "Where is it now?" "The current one is on a small island in a lake up north." Kabuto replied. "By the way," he paused and looked back and saw nothing. This was the signal to come forward slowly. He continued, "About what you asked me to do." There was nothing else to saw as he saw a bit of surprise. "Oh, I still had a few things to ask him, but I can't let this go on much longer or I'll be discovered. There isn't much of a choice, I have to capture him now." He pulled out a kunai knife. The hidden Konoha nin saw this and sighed that's. Naruto knew that Sasuke was about to get there and jumped out of his hood and landed right next to Sasori. In his spot was a disguised Satsuki as Orochimaru. "If you hadn't pulled out a kunai knife, I wouldn't have noticed." Naruto spoke.